What if I told you there was a footballer who just couldn't score a normal goal? From stunning scorpion kicks to his iconic bicycle kick, Zlatan Ibrahimovic was truly one of the greatest goal scorers in football history. His crazy goals on YouTube are the best. But how did Zlatan develop his unique skill? Well, it's time to find out. Zlatan's story begins in Malmö, a chilly town in South Sweden. A lot of people picture the Scandinavian countries as these perfect utopias where everyone lives in harmony. The truth is, like every other country on the planet, Sweden has its rough places too. Unfortunately for Zlatan, he was born and raised in one. Rosengård, to be precise, a tough neighbourhood known for poverty and crime. Like many of the inhabitants of Rosengård, young Zlatan wasn't an ethnic Swede. He was the child of Croatian and Bosnian immigrants. His parents separated early on in his life, and they both failed to take proper care of Zlatan. His mother would hit him over the head with a wooden spoon, while his father would pack the fridge with so much beer that there wasn't room for food. Far too many times, little Zlatan would go to bed hungry. When he turned 6 years old, Zlatan's wish finally came true. He received his very first pair of football boots. He spent hours upon hours practicing on the streets with other kids, showing off his incredible skills and fast footwork. By his early teens, Zlatan was by far and away the best player in his neighbourhood. But the middle-class kids he often played with looked down on him. They'd pick on him for being poor, pointing out his baggy clothes and immigrant background. The bullying infuriated Zlatan, who would channel his anger into his game. "One day, I'll show them," he promised. In 1996, Zlatan signed up to his local club, Malmö FF. While he started in the youth side, the mental strength he developed from his upbringing, coupled with his natural talent, had shaped him into such an incredible player that the manager simply couldn't keep him out of the senior side. Zlatan was still only 18, but the dazzling creative skills he showed on the ball had already made him a top target for the big clubs all over Europe. Arsene Wenger, the legendary Arsenal manager, known for his love of the beautiful game, offered him a chance to try out for his team. The Swede only said, "Zlatan doesn't do trials." In the end, it was Ajax that won the race for his signature. So Zlatan hopped on a flight to Amsterdam and began his career in the Eredivisie. The Dutch quickly learned two things about Zlatan. First, the young Swede had a very unique style of play. Whether it was striking the ball in the box, making a simple pass, or beating a defender, Zlatan did everything with flair and had to add his own little spice to every part of the game. He wasn't just good, he was one of a kind. Second, Zlatan had an ego. And when we say ego, we mean this guy thought he was God's gift to football. Zlatan couldn't stop showboating and puffing out his chest every time he beat the opposition, which was often. When Ajax faced off against Liverpool in the Champions League, the teenager beat Stefan Honcho, one of the team's centre-backs. After the game, Zlatan said, "First, I went left, he did too. Then I went right, he did too. Then I went left again, and he went to buy a hot dog." If you think Ronaldo has an ego, this guy was on another level. His cockiness definitely turned a lot of people away, including his Ajax teammate and captain Rafael van der Vaart. The two would clash often in training, and on August the 18th, 2004, this rivalry really came to a head. Sweden played against the Netherlands in an international match, and Zlatan dug his studs right into Van der Vaart's ankle, causing a fracture. Zlatan said it was an accident, but Van der Vaart insisted it was deliberate. But the ongoing tension between them led to Zlatan saying, "If you accuse me again, I'll break both your legs." But it's only called arrogance if you can't back up your boasting. If you can, it's just facts. Only 4 days after the incident, Zlatan made everyone forget the tackle by scoring an absolutely insane goal against NAC Breda. He picked up the ball outside the box, took a touch, shoved a midfielder off the ball, then drove into the penalty area. The Breda defenders tried to stop him, but Zlatan was just too good. He feigned a shot, stopping a man in his tracks, then feigned another, sending one to the ground, then dribbled past another, lined up a shot, but pulled back at the last second to sit down the goalkeeper and the last defender, then slotted the ball away like it was nothing. The crowd went ballistic. They had just witnessed a glimpse of the glorious career that was to come. But despite his pretty start during 2004 to 2005, this incident was part of leaving Ajax. He joined Juventus, where he made it his mission to cement himself as a world-class forward. With 16 goals and 8 assists by the end of the season, it's safe to say he'd gotten off to a pretty good start. But football isn't about stats, it's about moments. 2 incredible moments showcase the kind of artist Zlatan was becoming during his time at Juventus. First was against Roma. An outside the boot ball came flying towards Zlatan at top speed. The Swede was still on the halfway line, but insisted of taking it down. He flicked it with his heel on the volley, sending it far down the pitch. Then, he beat the defender in a foot race by shoving him to the ground with his strength, charged right at the goalkeeper and smashed it across the line without even breaking a sweat. Brilliant, yet unstoppable. Against Livorno, he caught a ball sailing down into the box on his right foot and chipped the keeper with a perfect volley. Simple, yet deadly. Those kids that had made fun of him back in the day now watched him on the TV in disbelief. When asked about his style of play, Zlatan said, "Swedish style? No. Yugoslavian style? Of course not. It has to be Zlatan's style." After 2 seasons at Juventus, Zlatan won 2 Serie A titles back-to-back, 2004 to 2005 and 2005 to 2006, only for them to be stripped away following a referee corruption scandal which saw Juve get sent down to Serie B. Frustrated, Zlatan made a move to Inter Milan. There he truly shined. The Swede became known across the whole world for scoring inhuman goals that showed off his incredible acrobatic skills. A back heel volley from a super tight angle against Bologna, a scissor kick strike against Sampdoria, and the title-winning goal against Parma after coming off the bench. And this was all in 2008. The next year, Zlatan fooled the entire Napoli defence with his fancy footwork, ending up with the ball in the back of the net despite starting with his back to goal. He demolished Regina by cutting through the entire defence, then chipping the keeper from way out like it was nothing. He struck the ball with the power of a loaded cannon from a free kick 32 metres out and sent it crashing against the crossbar, then bounced over the Fiorentina goal line. The keeper had no chance at all. The guy simply couldn't be stopped, or so we thought. In 2009, he joined Barcelona, which was, at the time, probably the greatest side history has ever seen. In Zlatan's mind, he was the greatest player history had ever seen, so it was the perfect fit.
In Barcelona, I was one man, and that's the philosopher. He was my problem. The rest, I didn't have problem with anybody. I mean, there's nobody who can say something that I did wrong. First 6 months, fantastic, was going very good, and then something happened. I still don't know what happened, but it happened, and I don't have answers from that.
Things didn't exactly go to plan, however. Zlatan clashed non-stop with the manager Pep Guardiola, who insisted on a rigid tiki-taka system that didn't fit the Swede's creative, showy style. "You bought a Ferrari, but drive it like a Fiat," Zlatan complained. Not only that, Zlatan's enormous ego couldn't tolerate another star taking all the spotlight. He was a fantastic player, but when a world-class talent has to compete with Messi, they never end up on top. Still, Zlatan managed to score some truly outrageous goals during his time in Spain. A beautiful one-touch goal against Atletico and an absolute rocket of a free kick outside the box against Zaragoza were 2 highlights of his time at Barcelona. By this point, fans and pundits took a look at Zlatan's track record and genuinely started to wonder, can this guy actually score a normal goal? Even the most creative forwards the game has ever seen were capable of putting away a simple tap-in. But it seemed no matter how hard he tried, Zlatan just couldn't score without it being a sensational goal that ends up in a YouTube compilation 10 years down the line. The man was just too skilled for his own good. Now a bona fide world-class superstar striker, the great Zlatan knew it was time to move on and continue his conquests across Europe. First up was AC Milan in 2010. That's right, the Swede went to his old club's arch-rivals. If there's one thing you need to know about Zlatan, it's that he's not afraid of a bit of controversy. Zlatan continued his incredible scoring streaks in Italy, with the usual tricks his fans had come to expect. A cannon shot against Fiorentina? The keeper didn't see it. Follow that up with a no-look goal from outside the box against Lecce away. Most strikers would have been delighted to score any of these goals across their career. Zlatan scored them all in one season without even trying. 2011 to 2012 was even crazier, as Zlatan pushed himself harder than ever. His stats alone tell you the whole story. 35 goals and 11 assists across all competitions in just 44 games. But don't think Zlatan stopped scoring those insane acrobatic goals either. A beautiful free kick against Cagliari and an absolute rocket against Siena within the box. After 2 years back in Italy, Zlatan set his eyes on a new land to dominate, France. PSG, who were set on making themselves the premier force in French football, welcomed him with open arms. But once Zlatan showed up, they walked the 2012 to 2013 season like it was nothing. Not only did PSG finish first with a comfy 12-point lead ahead of Marseille, but their Swedish star ended up as the league top scorer with a whopping 30 goals, many of which left the French fans stunned. A 40-yard screamer of a goal caught on the volley, of course, blew Anderlecht away in the Champions League as Zlatan showed the Belgians who they were messing with. Or his kung fu goal against Marseille. Next season was no different. How about an unbelievable scorpion kick goal against Bastia inside the box? Or his rocket free kick against FC Sochaux? When it comes to producing world-class goals, no one is more reliable than Zlatan. Just take your pick. After the 2015 to 2016 season, where he won his fourth back-to-back League One title for PSG and scored a Ronaldo-like 50 goals across 51 competitions with 20 assists to boot, Zlatan decided it was time for a new challenge. League One was like playing on easy mode for him, and the Premier League would be a much-needed step up in terms of difficulty. In 2016 to 2017, he joined Manchester United, ready to take England by storm. United fans were delighted, but some whispered if the Swede might well be past his prime by this point. After all, he was turning 35 in October. Zlatan just scoffed. How many times had people doubted him before, only to end up with egg on their face right after? This time was no different. He might have been older, but Zlatan was still the same 6'5" clinical striker he had always been. Zlatan proved himself to be an essential part of the team, scoring crucial goals when they were most needed, such as the winning goal in the 2-1 Community Shield victory over Leicester, and becoming the oldest player in the competition's history to put away 15 goals. But a Community Shield isn't enough for Zlatan. He spearheaded United's charge into the League Cup final, then, in true Zlatan fashion, scored a brace, including the final match-winning goal to beat Southampton 3-2. Nervy? Absolutely. But with Zlatan on your side, victory is never in doubt. Sadly, Zlatan picked up a nasty injury in the Europa League finals against Anderlecht. He missed out on the final against his former club Ajax, the very first big European side to take him on, and had to watch from the sidelines as Manchester United took home the Europa League trophy. The next season was a bit of a letdown for any United fans hoping to see the great Zlatan at his best. The injury kept him out of the side for most of the season, and after a few sub-appearances in the league and a free kick goal in the League Cup, United announced in March that the club and the player had decided to part ways. Now a free agent, there was no telling where Zlatan would go. Though he hadn't won a league title with United, he had dazzled the whole country and picked up a very respectable double, including a European trophy, something that Zlatan lacked in his trophy cabinet up until that point. But we couldn't call ourselves football enthusiasts if we didn't talk about that goal. You know the one. The goal that sent shivers down the spines of fans all over the planet, that made the Swedes jump up and down with joy. Though it happened in 2012 during his time at PSG, we had to save the best for last. November 14th, 2012, Sweden faced off against England in an international friendly. The Swedes, of course, called up the almighty Zlatan to lead the attack. He might not have had the easiest upbringing in Sweden, but it was still Zlatan's home. He would fight for it, just as he had fought for the clubs he'd signed for. By the end of the game, it was 3-2 to Sweden. Zlatan had already scored the hat-trick to give his country the lead, but believe it or not, this wasn't even the craziest part of the match. For him, it was just another day out. We're into the first minute of added time, and the English fans sigh. They know the game is over, but they at least put up a good fight. Not only that, they also got to witness the great Zlatan at his very best, Little did they know, the show wasn't over yet. England had the ball on the left wing, but lost possession. A Swedish player knocked the ball forward to clear it, playing it safe to make sure they didn't concede a late equaliser. Zlatan pushed forward as the ball fell in the English half. The Swedish fans sat up, as their striker looked like he might be able to win the duel for the ball. But they sat back down when they saw Joe Hart, the English keeper, run out to head the ball away. Well, they thought, 3 goals are enough. But not for Zlatan. See, Hart didn't head the ball quite right, only sending it halfway out. Every striker in history would still have had to take the ball down, turn and drive up the pitch, where the Swedish defence would have blocked them off and given their keeper time to get back in goal. Zlatan, though, is just built different. In a moment of absolute madness, he leapt into the air as the ball came down, flipped onto his back mid-air with the grace of a cat, and delivered the best bicycle kick you will ever see in your entire life. He caught it marvellously, sending the ball high up into the air. The entire stadium watched in awe as the ball dropped from the sky and, from 30 yards away, crossed the line into the back of the net. The Swedes lost their minds. Zlatan whipped off his shirt with a massive smile on his face. Even the English fans applauded. It's perhaps the greatest goal ever scored in the history of the game. Who else but Zlatan could even dare take such a shot, let alone score it? If you had to show someone one Zlatan goal, or even just one goal for all of football, it would be this one. Back to 2018, the Swede had conquered the Netherlands, wowed all of Italy, destroyed France, and shown England he was still a beast of a player. With a staggering 33 trophies under his belt, it was hard to predict what the guy would do. Who would be the next club to be blessed by the mighty Zlatan's godlike presence? Let's cross the Atlantic Ocean to a country where football, or soccer as they call it, is still taking root. Los Angeles is a massive cultural hub not only for the United States, but the entire world. Home of Hollywood film stars, it's tradition for even the biggest American athletes to take out a full page in the LA Times when they leave. They extend their gratitude and thank the city for welcoming them, a sign of humility and grace. On March the 23rd, 2018, the people of LA woke up, made their morning coffee, and unfurled the LA Times newspaper. What they saw nearly made them spit their drink out. An entirely blank page with just the words, "Dear Los Angeles, you're welcome." Signed, Zlatan. Let's be frank, LA Galaxy aren't a huge club in football, but don't think for even a second that Zlatan didn't give the fans the spectacle they dreamed of throughout his 2 years at the club. On March 31st, LA Galaxy battled Los Angeles FC in the very first Los Angeles derby, nicknamed El Tráfico. Zlatan sat on the bench as he watched his team getting absolutely hammered. By the 49th minute, Galaxy were 3-0 down to their local rivals. His teammates managed to win a goal back to make it 3-1 10 minutes later, but with only 20 minutes left on the clock, something needed to change. The crowd chants, "We want Zlatan, we want Zlatan." Zlatan smirks. "Okay," he said. "I'll give them Zlatan." At the 71st minute, Zlatan came on and the crowd roared with delight. The LAFC team immediately felt the pressure of a truly world-class forward bearing down on them. They were shaken by the Swedes' incredible strength and skills. It wasn't long before Galaxy found an opening thanks to his press, which gave them the chance to make it 3-2, only 2 minutes after the substitution. Game on. 5 minutes later, Zlatan decided he'd finished warming up. The ball fell to his feet near the halfway line. He spotted the LAFC keeper off his line, a critical mistake against a player like Zlatan. The Swede caught the ball on the volley and smashed it as hard as he could, sending it like a bullet from 40 yards away to strike the back of the net. 3-3. Have you ever seen a debut goal like this? Only Zlatan could. The American crowd could hardly believe their eyes. "Oh, come on!" screamed the announcer. Zlatan was everything they had dreamed of and more. But it wasn't over yet. In the 91st minute, Zlatan pressed forward when the LAFC defenders were hanging back to catch him offside. But the Swede was too clever for their tricks. He didn't take the bait and left it for his teammate to pick up on the wing. Then he drifted into the box, got on the end of a nice cross and slammed it into the back of the net to win it 4-3. LA Galaxy, from 3-0 down, won the very first LA derby in dramatic fashion, all thanks to Zlatan. The rest of his time in the MLS was just dominant performance after dominant performance. Volley goals and flicks galore. "I'm not the best in the MLS," Zlatan said. "I am the MLS." He wasn't wrong. Zlatan became a hero in the whole country. Basketball star LeBron James sent him his Lakers jersey as a welcome to LA gift. So, naturally, Zlatan signed his name on it and sent the jersey back. After 2 years in America, Zlatan saw out the end of his career back in Europe, returning to AC Milan. His first 2 seasons saw him go trophyless and racked by injuries, despite AC Milan reaching a Champions League final. But Zlatan wouldn't let his career end with a whimper. In 2022, at the age of 41 and playing through an ACL injury, Zlatan scored 5 and assisted 8 to help Milan take home the Serie A title for the first time in 11 years. The legend of Zlatan was complete. The man himself put it best when he described his career. "I'm like fine wine. The older I get, the better I get." Even legends have to call it quits eventually. After his victory, Zlatan announced in the summer of 2022 that he would be retiring for good. There will never be another player like Zlatan, not just in terms of skill, but in terms of sheer showmanship, character, and confidence. The man was the very epitome of arrogance, but everyone loved him for it. Why? Because he had the talent to back it up. Zlatan came to be known for only scoring the most impossible goals. He was hot-headed, savage, and pushed people's buttons. But at the end of the day, Zlatan brought something to the game that can't be taught: life. So here's the question: does Zlatan deserve to feature among the very best forwards the game has ever seen? We know what he thinks. No interview captures the essence of Zlatan better than this one. When asked who were the best strikers in the Premier League, Zlatan listed a few names. "Lukaku is strong, Aguero is good." The interviewer raised his eyebrows. "You didn't say yourself," he said. Was this a rare display of humility from the Swede? Zlatan smirked. Lions don't compare themselves to men. If you want to follow the story of a lazy midfielder who humiliates everyone without trying, check out our video here.